Welcome back to our journey through literature. Today we're plunging into the tumultuous currents of Act 4 of Shakespeare's Hamlet. This is really a pivotal phase where the seeds of tragedy sown in earlier acts, they truly begin to blossom into devastating consequences.
That's right. And to really grasp the profound shifts that happen in Acts 4, we kind of need to briefly cast our minds back to the electrifying conclusion of Act 3. Think of it as the play's emotional earthquake, where
Right.
hidden truths just violently erupted and changed everything.
Absolutely. If you recall the Mousetrap play, that cunning theatrical trap Hamlet set for Claudius, it finally delivered the irrefutable proof Hamlet needed.
Yeah, the king's reaction?
Exactly. The king's horrified reaction confirmed his guilt beyond a shadow of a doubt. So, fresh from this triumph, Hamlet immediately confronted his mother, Queen Gertrude, in the privacy of her closet. But in that charged, desperate confrontation, consumed by his accusations and grief, he made a catastrophic error. He impulsively killed Polonius, mistaking the old man for Claudius hiding behind the arras, the tapestry.
Such a critical moment. It fundamentally reset the entire play's trajectory. Because before that, Hamlet's conflict with Claudius was largely an internal battle, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
A slow, agonizing burn of suspicion, moral deliberation, and of course, his feigned madness. Polonius's accidental death just rips that conflict wide open.
It really does.
It forces the hidden machinations of the court out of the shadows and transforms Hamlet from this, contemplative avenger into an accidental killer. Suddenly, his struggle with Claudius is overtly dangerous and immediate for everyone involved.
So if Act 3 delivered that explosive climax, then Act 4 isn't just a transition, it's what we call a falling action, right?
Exactly. It's the undeniable falling action.
This is where we witness the rapid cascading consequences of Polonius's death. And these consequences, they ripple outwards with devastating force, accelerating the play relentlessly towards its tragic resolution. It's not just narrative progression, it feels like a vital engine driving us and the characters deeper into despair.
Precisely. In this act, we'll see Hamlet's impulsive action profoundly shatter the lives of other characters. Most notably, Ophelia and Laertes. Their fates become just inextricably linked to the escalating chaos. And maybe most chillingly, Act 4 shows us Claudius at his most Machiavellian. A king desperately clinging to power, consolidating his authority, and plotting Hamlet's elimination with this ruthless cold efficiency that leaves absolutely no room for doubt about his villainy.
And as we navigate each scene, we'll be using our trusty deep dive checklist to guide our analysis. We'll examine each scene's plot and its crucial structural role within the play. We'll delve into the evolving character development of those caught in the maelstrom. We'll dissect the most impactful quotations and literary devices Shakespeare uses to craft his masterpiece, really uncovering their literal meaning and their deeper resonance.
And the themes, yeah.
And finally, we'll connect everything back to the play's overarching themes, showing how they deepen and expand with every turn of events. So are you ready? Let's jump straight into Act 4, Scene 1.
Let's do it.
Right, let's unpack this first scene of Act 4. It opens immediately after that shocking murder in Gertrude's chamber. Polonius is dead. What happens right away, and what's its immediate function in propelling the play forward?
Okay, so the very first thing we witness is Queen Gertrude, still clearly reeling, deeply distressed, informing Claudius about Hamlet's killing of Polonius.
Right away.
Right away. This isn't just a recount. It's the raw, direct aftermath of Act 3's climax, hitting the heart of the court like a thunderclap. Structurally, it immediately places Claudius in this reactive, yet highly calculating role.
Yep.
He's forced to deal with this dangerous development. And what becomes glaringly obvious is his primary concern. It's absolutely not about justice for Polonius or, grief for his counselor.
Right.
It's solely about managing the political fallout, protecting his own precarious reputation, and preserving his ill-gotten power.
It's striking, isn't it? He doesn't grieve for Polonius. He immediately pivots to calculating the damage to himself. It really escalates the external conflict, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Shifting Claudius's hidden murderous intentions into overtly, if still kind of discreetly, moving against Hamlet. So how does this scene in particular illuminate new aspects of Gertrude's character?
Well, Gertrude's reaction here is profoundly ambiguous. And for me, it's one of the most fascinating aspects of this scene. She describes Hamlet as mad as the sea and wind when both contended it was, which is the mightier.
Such vivid imagery.
It is. This imagery of chaos and untamed natural forces reflects not only the violent eruption of Hamlet's internal turmoil, but also the sheer force of his recent actions. But the core ambiguity here is crucial. Does she truly believe Hamlet is entirely mad? Maybe clinging to that idea is the way to rationalize his violent actions, distance herself.
More covering for him.
Or is she shrewdly using this madness as a desperate attempt to cover for him, to shield him from Claudius's wrath, displaying a protective instinct for her son that maybe we haven't seen so clearly before? Her words could be a genuine assessment, or they could be a calculated defense. It's really hard to nail down.
And Claudius, as you noted, really shows his true colors. No tears for Polonius, only fear for himself and the throne.
Precisely. His very first lines in response to Gertrude's news are just a stark betrayal of his ruthless, self-serving nature. He immediately exclaims, "Alas, how shall this bloody deed be answered? It will be laid to us."
It will be laid to us, yeah.
Exactly. The dramatic irony here is absolutely potent. The king, who himself is a regicide and fratricide, feigns concern for public perception and moral accountability, which only highlights his profound hypocrisy.
Totally.
His swift decision to send Hamlet away isn't about ensuring Hamlet's safety or, getting him help. It's a cold, calculated move to secure his own position and eliminate a perceived threat. It underscores his growing fear of Hamlet as this unpredictable, dangerous force.
That fear drives him to a very pragmatic, almost chilling philosophy, doesn't it? He utters that line, "Diseases desperate grown, by desperate appliance are relieved, or not at all."
Yes, that line is so crucial. It's almost a philosophical statement for Claudius. It encapsulates his entire political worldview.
Right.
When a problem becomes desperate, you have to resort to equally desperate, even morally reprehensible measures. Otherwise, the problem will consume everything.
It's ruthless logic.
It is. And this isn't just a general observation. It's direct foreshadowing of his willingness to take drastic, deadly action against Hamlet. He sees Hamlet not as a grieving son or a nephew, but as a dangerous disease threatening the very lifeblood of his reign. And for Claudius, eradication is the only cure.
Chilling.
It's the ultimate justification for state-sponsored murder, framed as pragmatic necessity. And it tells us everything about the toxic environment he's created in Denmark.
So thematically, this scene immediately reinforces the devastating consequences of action. Polonius's death isn't just a personal tragedy, it's a direct political crisis that forces Claudius to act swiftly and decisively.
And it deeply entrenches the theme of corruption and political Machiavellianism, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Claudius's immediate response isn't about enacting justice. It's solely about maintaining power and suppressing threats. His obsession with managing public perception, even as he privately plots murder, starkly brings to light the theme of appearance versus reality. He's putting on this grand, deceptive show for the court and the kingdom, while his true villainous intentions are hidden in plain sight, hidden from the court, but revealed only to us, the audience.
Right.
This constant tension between what seems and what is, it just permeates every corner of the corrupt Danish court.
That opening really sets a chilling tone, doesn't it? As the dust settles, we find Rosencrantz and Guildenstern back on Hamlet's trail in Scene 2. What exactly are they up to now? And what's its crucial structural purpose as we transition out of that initial chaos?
Okay, so this brief scene continues the immediate aftermath of Polonius' death. It highlights the frantic search for his body. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, now firmly established as Claudius's obedient, if rather inept instrument.
Yeah, they're not exactly top agents.
Not really. They're attempting to find Polonius' corpse and to question Hamlet about its whereabouts. Structurally, its function is mostly to emphasize Hamlet's defiant and elusive behavior. He's absolutely not cooperating.
No way.
And he's clearly several steps ahead of them intellectually, even while he's feigning madness. It also efficiently sets the stage for his forced departure from Denmark. Kind of clears the decks for that.
He seems to be almost relishing his madness here, using it as a deliberate weapon against his former friends. How does this particular display of madness develop Hamlet's character? What new facets do we see?
Well, here, Hamlet's madness isn't a chaotic breakdown. It's highly articulate, it's sharp, it's biting. He reveals his complete and utter awareness of Rosencrantz and Guildenstern's true purpose, that they are merely spies sent by Claudius.
He calls them out.
He totally calls them out. He calls them sponges who merely soak up the king's favor. It's a devastating indictment of their subservience. His refusal to be easily questioned or controlled, even while adopting the guise of lunacy, brilliantly demonstrates his cunning and his intellectual superiority. He's not just mad. He's using madness as both a shield and a sword, testing their loyalty, confirming their lack of it, and kind of enjoying his intellectual dominance over them, almost daring them to understand him.
And the character development, or lack thereof, they don't come off particularly well, do they? They seem utterly outmatched.
Not at all. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are shown to be completely outwitted, utterly unable to penetrate Hamlet's intellectual defenses. They are left confused and frustrated, reinforcing their role as Claudius's easily manipulated, somewhat pathetic tools. They lack the wit, the independent thought, and frankly the moral compass to even grasp the full sting of Hamlet's sophisticated insults, let alone to fulfill their mission. They are, in essence, moral and intellectual vacuums.
Let's talk about some of those biting lines, because they're truly remarkable. He tells them Polonius's body is compounded it with dust, whereto 'tis kin.
That's a grim, darkly humorous, and profoundly cynical statement on mortality, isn't it?
It really is.
It reflects the common, inescapable fate of all. Regardless of status or power, everyone ultimately returns to dust. Coming from Hamlet, who has been grappling so intensely with the nature of death and existence, it's a stark, almost defiant reminder of life's transient nature and the ultimate futility of worldly status. It's a truth he's found through suffering, which they, of course, cannot comprehend.
And then the famous sponge metaphor. Besides, to be demanded of a sponge, what replication should be made by the son of a king? That's just a direct, humiliating hit.
It's devastating. The metaphor of Rosencrantz and Guildenstern as sponges is incredibly biting. Hamlet implies that they absorb the king's influence, his rewards, his secrets. And then, crucially, they can be easily squeezed dry of whatever information Claudius needs, only to be refilled and used again. It's a direct, public, and humiliating insult that strips them of any perceived dignity or independent agency. They are mere objects, tools in the hands of a king, devoid of their own will or thought, and Hamlet wants to make sure they know it.
He also throws out that incredibly ambiguous line, almost a riddle. The body is with the king, but the king is not with the body. The king is a thing, my lord, of nothing. What do you make of that? It's so abstract, yet so cutting.
This is one of Hamlet's most profound and perplexing philosophical riddles, isn't it? And it works on multiple brilliant levels. Literally, okay, it could mean Polonius's body is hidden by the king's authority, but not physically with Claudius, but on a deeper level.
Right.
It's a veiled, powerful accusation that Claudius, despite holding the title of king, is morally hollow, a thing of nothing, because he lacks true virtue, legitimacy, moral substance. It could also be a commentary on the ephemeral nature of kingship without true virtue or, the divine right. It's Hamlet's brilliant way of speaking dangerous truths about Claudius's spiritual emptiness, about the corrupt nature of power while remaining safely within the guise of madness, making his words seem nonsensical to those too dull to grasp them.
So thematically, it's a powerful reinforcement of appearance versus reality. Hamlet's continued antic disposition shields his true intentions while allowing him to articulate these harsh, uncomfortable truths about the court.
Absolutely. And it also highlights the pervasive moral decay and corruption within the Danish court, underscored by Rosencrantz and Guildenstern's utter willingness to be instruments of Claudius, to compromise their integrity for royal favor.
Yeah, it's pathetic.
It is, and it's a brilliant display of power and intellect.
Yeah.
Hamlet uses his sharp mind to utterly subvert the power dynamic, mocking those sent to control him, even as he's ostensibly being led away. He might be a prisoner of circumstance, but he's a very clever one, asserting his intellectual freedom even in captivity.
Moving on to Act 4, Scene 3, this truly feels like Claudius' scene to seize control, doesn't it? He's faced with the very immediate problem of Polonius' disappearance. What's the core action here? And what's its crucial structural impact on the play's rising action?
This is indeed Claudius's decisive, ruthless moment.
Okay.
He confronts Hamlet directly, demanding the location of Polonius's body. Hamlet, maintaining his erratic persona, delivers these cryptic, morbid, and utterly disrespectful answers.
Right.
Before Claudius finally informs him that he must leave for England immediately. Crucially, though, the scene culminates with Claudius's chilling soliloquy, delivered only to the audience, where he explicitly reveals his true murderous purpose, Hamlet's execution in England.
So this isn't just about getting Hamlet out of Denmark. It's a calculated move to eliminate him entirely. This transforms Hamlet's journey into something far more sinister, doesn't it?
Precisely. This scene marks a critical moment of rising action, where the king's hidden murderous intent is fully laid bare to us. It transforms Hamlet's forced departure from a simple political exile into a predetermined death sentence.
Wow.
It's no longer just about suspicion or abstract revenge. It's about outright assassination, carefully orchestrated by the king. The stakes for Hamlet have never been higher, and we, the audience, know it. while he remains completely oblivious to the specific trap.
And how do our main characters, Claudius and Hamlet, develop in this tense exchange? What new depths of their personalities are revealed?
Claudius's ruthless nature and political cunning are on full display here. He makes it unequivocally clear he fears Hamlet, describing him as raging like the hectic in my blood.
Hmm.
For Claudius, Hamlet's death isn't just a convenient solution. It's perceived as an existential necessity to secure his throne and significantly to gain some measure of peace of mind. His soliloquy, delivered with cold calculation, truly highlights his desperate anxiety and his willingness to commit further evil to maintain his power. He's the ultimate pragmatist, totally devoid of moral qualms.
And Hamlet, he's still playing the fool, but with a profoundly dark, almost confrontational edge.
Yes, Hamlet maintains his erratic demeanor, but he delivers lines that are morbidly witty, profoundly challenging, and deeply unsettling to Claudius. His seemingly passive acceptance of the exile hides, for us anyway, a deeper developing plan, implied by his later actions, though not explicitly stated in this scene.
Right.
His comments on mortality repeatedly challenge Claudius's earthly power and pretense of control, mocking the very idea of a king's authority in the face of death's ultimate democracy. He's weaponizing mortality itself.
Let's really delve into those lines because they're incredible. Starting with Hamlet's macabre description of Polonius's whereabouts, quote, "At supper, not where he eats, but where he is eaten. A certain convocation of politic worms are e'en at him."
It's a grotesque but powerfully resonant image, isn't it? Hamlet uses the macabre imagery of worms as the great equalizer. He's highlighting the transient nature of all life and the ultimate futility of worldly power and status. This isn't just morbid humor. It's a profound, subtle, yet potent insult to Claudius, implying that even kings, despite their outward splendor and authority, will ultimately end up as food for worms, just like Polonius. It undermines the very foundations of Claudius's earthly power.
He then expands on that, pushing the idea even further, saying, "A man may fish with the worm that hath eat of a king, and eat of the fish that hath fed of that worm." That's a powerful, almost cyclical image of life and death, isn't it?
It absolutely is. This image powerfully illustrates the democratic and inescapable nature of mortality. It suggests a complete leveling of all social hierarchy in death. Even a king's body, through the natural food chain, can eventually nourish the lowest of beings, blurring the lines between royalty and beggar. It's a direct intellectual undermining of Claudius's perceived authority and the very notion of his kingship, reducing all human existence to this brutal biological cycle. It challenges the divine right of kings with the ultimate equalizer, decay.
And then the ultimate defiance delivered directly to Claudius. "In heaven, send thither to see. If your messenger find him not there, seek him in the other place yourself."
Whoa! That's a thinly veiled, yet incredibly direct and audacious accusation that Claudius, as a murderer, is irrevocably bound for hell.
He's basically telling him to go to hell.
Pretty much. It's an incredibly bold statement, demonstrating the true nature of Hamlet's madness. It's a carefully constructed facade that allows him to speak dangerous, unpalatable truths and challenge the king's moral authority without immediate direct consequence. He's essentially telling the king of Denmark that he's damned, and doing so with a mocking smile.
But the real chilling revelation and where the audience gets that dramatic irony comes in Claudius's soliloquy. "And England, if my love thou hold'st at aught. Our sovereign process, which imports it full, by letters congruing to that effect, the present death of Hamlet."
This is pure, unadulterated dramatic irony, and it's utterly chilling. We, the audience, now know precisely Claudius's treacherous plot to have Hamlet assassinated upon arrival in England.
The
letters he's sending. This soliloquy solidifies his villainy beyond any doubt. He's not just a usurper and a fratricide. He's actively, calmly, and meticulously orchestrating another murder, detailing the precise mechanism of Hamlet's assassination. It transforms the journey to England from a political exile into a cold, calculated death sentence, making Claudius a truly monstrous villain.
Thematically, this scene is just drenched in mortality and decay, isn't it? With Hamlet's obsession with death and the physical decomposition of bodies permeating his lines.
Definitely. And it throws into sharp relief the twisted concept of justice in this play. Claudius's justice is entirely self-serving, a means to protect his ill-gotten gains and maintain his power at any cost.
Right.
Hamlet's morbid humor, meanwhile, serves as a profound challenge to the earthly power structures that Claudius represents, highlighting their ultimate impotence in the face of death. It also vividly sets up the theme of revenge, as Claudius acts with brutal efficiency to prevent Hamlet's revenge from ever manifesting, believing he's now secured his safety by eliminating the threat. He thinks he's won.
Act 4, Scene 4, is quite a contrast from the intense plotting of Claudius. It shifts focus back to Hamlet and his ever-present internal struggle. What happens here, and what's its crucial structural significance for Hamlet's journey?
Okay, this scene is arguably one of the most important for understanding Hamlet's psychological shift.
Yeah.
It occurs as Hamlet is being escorted to the ship bound for England, right? And he encounters Fortinbras leading his vast army through Denmark.
Fortinbras again.
Fortinbras again. They are on their way to conquer a small, almost insignificant piece of Polish land. Structurally, this scene is vital because it features Hamlet's final major soliloquy on action versus inaction before his eventual return to Denmark. Fortinbras, with his decisive pursuit of even a trivial gain, acts as a powerful foil, starkly contrasting with Hamlet's prolonged philosophical paralysis and delays concerning a grave injustice. This encounter, and the subsequent soliloquy, serves as a profound turning point that revitalizes Hamlet's resolve, pushing him, psychologically at least, towards his ultimate confrontation.
So Fortinbras is almost a mirror, showing Hamlet what he could be, or perhaps what he should be. How does this encounter profoundly develop Hamlet's character, particularly his commitment to his vengeance?
Well, this soliloquy, which famously begins, "How all occasions do inform against me and spur my dull revenge," is a moment of profound, almost brutal self-criticism for Hamlet.
Yeah, he really tears into himself.
He does. He feels utterly shamed by Fortinbras's readiness to fight and die for what he calls an eggshell, a mere trick of fame, while he, Hamlet, has this far greater, more righteous cause: a murdered father, a stained mother, a usurped throne, yet still procrastinates. This marks a significant internal shift. His powerful declaration, "Oh, from this time forth my thoughts be bloody or be nothing worth," signifies a potential, albeit still abstract, commitment to more decisive and violent action.
A turning point.
It suggests a move away from pure contemplation towards a more concrete, even ruthless pursuit of revenge. The very sight of Fortinbras already acting with such swift purpose jolts Hamlet into a renewed sense of urgency and self-reproach.
And Fortinbras, then, is presented as this paragon of action, even if his ambition seems minor in scale compared to Hamlet's cause.
Exactly. Fortinbras embodies a direct, unhesitating, almost brutal approach to ambition and honor. He's a man of military efficiency and decisive ambition, even if the object of that ambition, that small, seemingly worthless patch of land, is materially insignificant.
All right.
He acts for honor, for reputation, even for a straw, as Hamlet puts it. He contrasts sharply with Hamlet's introspective nature, his philosophical agonizing, and his propensity for delay. Fortinbras is a man of external action. Hamlet, until now, has been primarily a man of internal thought.
Let's really break down that soliloquy because it's so rich. He opens with that profound philosophical question. What is a man if his chief good and market of his time be but to sleep and feed, a beast no more?
It's one of the play's most existential questions, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is Hamlet grappling with the very essence of human purpose. He's asking what fundamentally distinguishes humanity from mere animals if our primary existence is reduced to satisfying basic biological needs like sleeping and eating. By equating inaction and a lack of higher purpose with bestiality, he's highlighting his own deep moral and intellectual dissatisfaction with his current state of being, with his prolonged delays. He sees himself at this moment as falling short of his true human potential due to his inability to act decisively on his grand righteous cause. It's a moment of profound self-condemnation.
And then he gets to the core of his struggle with honor, which is redefined by Fortinbras's actions. Rightly to be great is not to stir without great argument, but greatly to find quarrel in a straw when honor's at the stake.
This line represents a radical redefinition of greatness for Hamlet, born from his observation of Fortinbras. It's not about the sheer magnitude or material value of the cause itself. Rather, true greatness lies in the willingness to act fiercely and immediately when honor, even in a seemingly trivial matter, is compromised.
Right, finding quarrel in a straw.
Exactly. This is a key insight into his internal struggle because he sees Fortinbras acting on a trick of fame, on principle alone, while he, Hamlet, has a truly monumental cause: his father's murder, his mother's defilement, his kingdom's corruption, yet still remains hesitant and mired in philosophical doubts. This powerful realization, this external mirror, pushes him to reevaluate his own sense of honor and duty and to question whether his inaction is a mark of thoughtfulness or perhaps cowardice.
And that leads directly to his powerful concluding vow, which feels like such a definitive statement of intent.
"Oh, from this time forth, my thoughts be glutty or be nothing worth." This dramatic, almost visceral declaration isn't just a rhetorical flourish. It signals a potential, crucial, and very real shift in Hamlet's character.
You feel it.
You do. He's promising an end to his philosophical delays and a move towards violent, decisive action. Now, whether he can truly live up to this vow remains to be seen, given his past tendencies, but the intent is now explicitly stated. It hints at a new, more hardened Hamlet, potentially ready to shed the intellectual burdens that have thus far paralyzed him. It's a moment of true resolve, spurred by Fortinbras.
Thematically, the scene is just all about action versus inaction, isn't it? With Fortinbras serving as the stark, almost uncomfortable counterpoint to Hamlet's struggle.
Absolutely. It revitalizes the theme of revenge, as Hamlet's renewed, albeit bloody, commitment to his sworn duty is directly prompted by this external comparison, this challenge to his sense of honor, and it deeply explores honor and ambition. Fortinbras's relentless drive for even a trick of fame pushes Hamlet to seriously reevaluate his own sense of honor and what it truly means to be a man of purpose in a corrupt world. It sets the mental stage for his eventual decisive return to Denmark, now with a seemingly hardened resolve.
Act 4, Scene 5, is utterly heartbreaking. We see Ophelia, driven to madness, and then the furious, vengeful return of Laertes. Tell us what happens here and its overall structural function in escalating the tragedy.
Oh, this scene marks a profound and devastating deepening of the play's tragedy. It's rough. We witness Ophelia's complete descent into genuine madness, characterized by her singing these disjointed, sorrowful songs and her fragmented, nonsensical, yet profoundly poignant speech.
It's shattered.
Completely.
Yeah.
Almost immediately after she appears, Laertes bursts into the court, leading a rebellious mob and fiercely demanding to know how his father, Polonius, died. His fury then intensifies when he sees Ophelia's shattered condition, which utterly devastates him.
Right.
Structurally, the scene serves multiple critical functions. It vividly showcases the innocent suffering wrought by the court's pervasive corruption and, frankly, Hamlet's impulsive, fatal actions. More importantly, it introduces Laertes as this powerful, emotionally charged, and immediately reactive force of revenge.
The anti-Hamlet, in a way.
Very much the anti-Hamlet. He acts as a dynamic, unthinking foil to Hamlet's earlier, more contemplative approach, and it significantly raises the stakes for Claudius, who now faces an immediate and overt threat to his throne, not just Hamlet's intellectual challenges. It's chaos unleashed.
Ophelia's transformation is truly devastating to witness. How does her character unravel in this scene? What does her madness communicate to us?
Her transformation into madness is perhaps one of the most poignant and tragic moments in the entire play. Her fragmented songs, her nonsensical yet profoundly poignant speech, reveal a psyche utterly shattered by grief over her father's death, the loss of her innocence, Hamlet's cruel rejection, and the pervasive corruption of the court.
It's all too much.
It is. Her madness is a stark contrast to Hamlet's feigned insanity. Hers is horrifyingly real, a true break from reality. And the symbolic distribution of flowers.
Yes, talk about the flower.
Rosemary for remembrance, maybe for her father, given to Laertes. Pansies for thoughts, perhaps her scattered ones, or Hamlet's broken promises. Fennel for flattery and deceit, likely for Claudius or the court. Columbines for faithlessness, maybe Gertrude or Hamlet. Rue for sorrow and repentance for herself, or maybe Gertrude. A daisy for dissembling, reflecting the court's hypocrisy. And withered violets for faithfulness now lost, she says. They withered all when my father died.
Wow.
Each flower communicates unspoken truths about her relationships and serves as this heartbreaking subconscious commentary on the events that have led her to the shattering state. Her madness becomes a vehicle for tragic, unintentional truth-telling.
And Laertes, he bursts onto the scene as a true man of immediate violent action, a stark contrast to Hamlet's previous hesitations.
Exactly. Laertes is presented as Hamlet's dramatic opposite in pretty much every sense. A man of immediate, furious, and unthinking action. His fierce demand for justice, how came he dead, I'll not be juggled with, to hell allegiance, showcases a raw, unfiltered desire for revenge that is willing to cast aside conscience and grace and damnation itself to achieve it.
He doesn't care.
He doesn't deliberate, he acts. His profound grief for his father and now his sister is palpable, making him a potent, dangerous, and morally unmoored force in the court. He represents the kind of revenge Hamlet struggled with, but with absolutely none of Hamlet's ethical or philosophical restraints.
Claudius, however, manages to keep his composure and even manipulates Laertes under this immediate volatile threat. He's remarkably cunning here.
Claudius demonstrates truly masterful composure and manipulative skill under immense immediate pressure. He deftly manages to turn Laertes' explosive rage away from himself and precisely towards Hamlet, laying the groundwork for their deadly alliance later on.
Plants the seed.
Exactly. He also shrewdly recognizes the danger of Ophelia's madness spreading dangerous conjectures among the populace, understanding that such public displays of grief and mental instability could threaten his fragile hold on the throne. And it's interesting, Gertrude has that brief aside in this scene. So full of artless jealousy is guilt, it spills itself in fearing to be spilt.
Hmm.
What do you think of that? It subtly hints at her own inner turmoil and complicity, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Suggesting she too is feeling the weight of an unspoken guilt, though maybe not as overtly as Claudius. It's a fascinating glimpse into her psyche.
Let's look closer at Ophelia's fragmented songs and the profound flower symbolism. Her songs like He's Dead and Gone, Lady, and Tomorrow is St. Valentine's Day are so incredibly poignant.
They really are. Their fragmented nature perfectly reflects her shattered mental state, her inability to form coherent thought. The literal meanings often deal with death, loss, unrequited love. But they also carry symbolic undertones of betrayal, lost virginity, perhaps even her own perceived sexual corruption, given some of the more suggestive lyrics that were well known in Shakespeare's time. And the flower symbolism, as we discussed, is particularly rich. It's like a poetic language of her grief and accusation. Each choice is a direct, if subconscious, commentary on the characters around her and the morally bankrupt world that has destroyed her.
And then Laertes' vow of revenge, which is so chillingly different from Hamlet's. To hell, allegiance, vows to the blackest devil, conscience and grace to the profoundest pit. I'm dare damnation. To this point I stand, that both the worlds I give to negligence, let come what comes, only I'll be revenged, most throughly for my father.
This is just a stark, absolute contrast to Hamlet's earlier hesitations and his philosophical agonizing, isn't it?
Totally different energy.
Completely. Laertes' passionate, immediate, and morally unrestrained commitment to revenge is a critical comparison point. He is willing to sacrifice absolutely everything, his loyalty to the crown, his conscience, his grace, even his immortal soul, damning himself to achieve vengeance. This raw, unthinking drive for immediate action, this complete disregard for consequences, sets him up as a clear, morally compromised foil to Hamlet's more intellectual, introspective, and ethically burdened approach to his own revenge. It shows the sheer destructive power of unchecked grief and rage.
Claudius also has that incredibly powerful metaphor when he says, when sorrows come, they come not single spies, but in battalions.
It's a very apt and poignant metaphor describing the overwhelming, almost military-style accumulation of tragedies hitting the royal family.
Right, it feels like an assault.
It does. It's not just Polonius's death. It's Hamlet's exile, Ophelia's madness, and now Laertes' rebellion. It encapsulates the profound sense of escalating uncontrollable chaos and overwhelming misfortune descending upon the court, a direct and unavoidable consequence of Claudius's initial sin and subsequent crimes. The metaphor paints a vivid picture of the sheer weight of consequence pressing down on him.
So thematically, madness is a huge element here, with Ophelia's genuine descent contrasting so starkly with Hamlet's feigned insanity, showing its devastating real-world consequences on the innocent.
Indeed. And revenge is amplified with the introduction of Laertes as a powerful mirror and foil to Hamlet, pursuing vengeance with furious speed and directness, but also with a shocking lack of moral boundaries.
Right.
It brings up the question of justice again. Laertes demands it, but Claudius immediately begins manipulating that demand, perverting it for his own ends. Ultimately, the scene highlights the spreading chaos and disorder, from Ophelia's fractured mind to the populace's rebellion and the escalating cycle of violence that now threatens the very foundations of the Danish court, spiraling rapidly out of control.
And finally, Act 4, Scene 7. This feels like the grand finale of Claudius's masterful plotting, doesn't it? All the strings come together here. What's the big picture?
The scene is truly the grand culmination of the play's plotting against Hamlet. Claudius, at his most cunning and venomous, expertly manipulates Laertes, still raw with grief and rage, into a carefully constructed plot to kill Hamlet.
The fencing match.
The rigged fencing match, exactly. They agree Laertes will use an unbaited poisoned rapier, and Claudius, leaving nothing to chance, will prepare a poisoned drink as a backup plan.
Just in case.
Just in case. And then, at the height of this dark conspiracy, Queen Gertrude enters with the exquisitely poetic yet tragically devastating news of Ophelia's drowning. Structurally, this scene fully establishes the precise mechanism for Hamlet's death, leading directly and inevitably to the final bloody tragedy of Act 5. Ophelia's death serves as both a final, heartbreaking consequence of the play's events and further fuels Laertes' thirst for vengeance, solidifying his role as Claudius's deadly, unwitting instrument.
Claudius is absolutely chilling in this scene. What new depths of his manipulative genius do we see here?
Claudius's manipulative genius is at its absolute peak. It's a true masterclass in psychological warfare. He calmly and dispassionately explains to Laertes his reasons for not punishing Hamlet publicly. He cites Gertrude's profound, almost blind devotion to Hamlet, stating she lives almost by his looks.
Right.
And he points to Hamlet's surprising popularity with the great love the general gender bear him, meaning the common people. These lines reveal Claudius's sharp political astuteness and his meticulous calculation in navigating public opinion and private loyalties.
He knows the game.
He knows he can't openly move against Hamlet without risking Gertrude's wrath or inciting a popular rebellion. Then, with a chilling artistry, he artfully suggests the honorable duel, revealing his cold cunning by proposing multiple layers of treachery. First, the poisoned blade, then the poisoned cup as an infallible failsafe. He's leaving absolutely nothing to chance in his quest to eliminate Hamlet.
And Laertes, utterly consumed by grief and a desperate need for revenge, becomes a tragically willing participant in this dishonorable scheme.
Yes, Laertes is completely driven by grief and a passionate, almost blinding desire for revenge. He's shockingly easily swayed by Claudius's cunning, becoming a willing accomplice in a truly dishonorable and treacherous plot.
It's sad, really.
It is. His eager embrace of poison, "I'll anoint my sword," so mortal that but dip a knife in it. It may be death. Marks his profound moral degradation in the pursuit of vengeance. The need for retribution corrupts his sense of honor. However, his anguish over Ophelia's death when he hears the news is a raw, deeply humanizing moment. It reminds us of the genuine pain driving his corrupted actions, adding a layer of pathos to his villainy.
Gertrude, in this scene, is mainly the bearer of terrible, almost unspeakable news. Her description of Ophelia's drowning is one of the most famous and paradoxically beautiful passages in the entire play.
Her role is indeed to deliver that devastating news, and she does so with breathtaking, almost lyrical poetry. Her description of Ophelia's drowning is exquisitely poignant, providing a stark, fragile beauty that contrasts sharply with the dark plotting of the male characters.
It's so different in tone.
Completely. She describes the willow grows askant the brook, Ophelia's clothes spread wide, and mermaid-like a while they bore her up, and Ophelia chanting snatches of old lauds as she drifts to her muddy death. This pastoral imagery, full of flowers and flowing water, creates a sense of serene, almost natural transition for Ophelia's demise, despite the implicit tragedy of suicide. It elevates her suffering to an almost ethereal level, making her death profoundly moving and a stark emotional blow. Gertrude remains largely a passive observer or victim of the escalating events, seemingly overwhelmed by the sheer accumulation of tragedies unfolding around her.
Let's really dig into those key quotations, starting with Claudius's manipulative explanations for not punishing Hamlet publicly. He's playing a long game here.
When Claudius explains the queen his mother lives almost by his looks, and points to the great love the general gender bear him, he's showcasing his absolute mastery of political manipulation. He understands that simply executing Hamlet publicly would backfire spectacularly, risking not only Gertrude's fury, but a popular uprising.
Smart in a twisted way.
It is. This is not about justice, but about strategic self-preservation and maintaining the illusion of legitimacy. He's a calculating politician first, a king second, and a murderer always. He knows exactly how to use emotional leverage and public perception to his advantage, even against his own stepson.
Laertes' eagerness for revenge is palpable, even shocking when he says he's willing to cut his throat in the church.
That's an incredibly chilling statement, isn't it? Demonstrating the absolute depth of his rage and his complete willingness to disregard sacred boundaries for vengeance.
No lines left to cross.
None. It's a direct contrast to Hamlet's earlier hesitation about killing Claudius at prayer in Act 3, because he feared sending a praying murderer to heaven. Laertes, in his unbridled fury, is willing to commit murder even in a holy place, a sanctuary, underscoring how completely consumed he is by his desire for retribution and how far he has fallen from grace. And Claudius, ever the opportunist and moral corrupter, immediately approves, saying, "No place indeed should murder sanctuarize, revenge should have no bounds," further pushing Laertes into moral depravity by endorsing his lack of restraint.
And the details of the poisoned rapier and cup Claudius leaves absolutely nothing to chance in his plan to eliminate Hamlet. It's a double trap.
Indeed. Laertes states, "I'll anoint my sword, so mortal that, but dip a knife in it. It may be death." This explicit detail of the poisoned blade solidifies the treachery of their plot. It's not just a duel, it's an assassination attempt disguised as a sporting event. Utterly dishonorable.
Right.
And as a backup, Claudius says, "A chalice for the nonce, whereon it's sipping, If you by chance escape your venom stuck, our purpose may hold there. This layered deceit reveals the full extent of Claudius's cold, calculating villainy, ensuring Hamlet's death regardless of the fencing outcome. It's a truly diabolical plan, a testament to his murderous ingenuity.
Then that beautiful, tragic description from Gertrude about Ophelia's drowning, it's almost like a piece of a different play, so poetic.
This passage is a masterpiece of tragic poetry, a moment of profound beauty amidst the escalating horror. The imagery is pastoral and serene, creating a sense of quiet grace around Ophelia's demise, despite the implicit tragedy of suicide. The willow has scamped the brook, her fantastic garlands and her mermaid-like floating, singing melodious lay until muddy death pulls her down. It's a poignant portrayal that elevates her suffering to an almost ethereal level. It contrasts sharply with the harsh reality of the court's treachery and the male character's dark plotting, providing a stark, unforgettable emotional blow to the audience. It's a moment of devastating, almost lyrical beauty born from immense sorrow.
And Laertes' struggle with his own emotions. Too much of water hast thou, poor Ophelia, and therefore I forbid my tears. But yet, it is our trick. Nature her custom holds. Let shame say what it will. When these are gone, the woman will be out.
This is a deeply humanizing moment for Laertes amidst his vengeful rage, isn't it?
It really is.
He attempts to suppress his tears, clinging to a culturally masculine stoicism, declaring, "I forbid my tears, the woman will be out," implying that weeping's a feminine weakness. But he immediately acknowledges the overwhelming, uncontrollable nature of his profound grief, admitting, "It is our trick, nature her custom holds." This internal conflict between his desire for vengeance and his overwhelming sorrow for his sister makes him a more complex character, adding to the tragic weight of the scene. It's a powerful portrayal of a man torn between his hardened resolve and his deepest human emotions.
Thematically, the scene fully explores the destructive and utterly corrupting nature of unchecked revenge, as Laertes is driven to dishonorable means, mirroring the very corruption he seeks to avenge.
And it absolutely screams deceit and treachery. The elaborate, layered plot against Hamlet underscores the pervasive, insidious corruption of the Danish court, where murder is disguised as sport and honor is utterly discarded.
Yeah.
Ophelia's death, the ultimate, tragic outcome of her genuine madness, itself a direct consequence of the play's earlier events and the profound moral decay of those around her. It also highlights the distorted sense of justice. The innocent suffer and die, while the guilty conspire, laying the groundwork for the inevitable bloody unraveling that is to come, where no one, it seems, can escape the consequences.
So, after that whirlwind of events, let's try and bring it all together. What are the key takeaways from Act 4, and what has fundamentally changed by its conclusion, setting us up for the final act?
Act 4 is undeniably a period of intense consequence and accelerating doom. It sees the direct repercussions of Polonius's death manifest most acutely and tragically in Ophelia's profound madness and subsequent drowning, and crucially, in Laertes' furious and direct return seeking immediate, unbridled revenge.
And Claudius, ever the pragmatist, takes full cold advantage of this mounting chaos.
Exactly. He masterfully deflects blame from himself and skillfully harnesses Laertes' raw anger and grief, twisting it to his own purpose. He concocts that multi-layered, utterly treacherous plot for Hamlet's elimination, ensuring he has multiple fail-safes.
Right.
Meanwhile, Hamlet, after observing Fortinbras' decisive ambition and reflecting on his own delays, finally seems to solidify his own resolve for action. He moves past his intellectual paralysis, declaring, "My thoughts be bloody," though he remains dangerously unaware of the specific, deadly traps being laid for him back in Denmark.
So by the end of Act 4, the play's trajectory has fundamentally shifted from internal struggle to overt deadly conflict.
It really has. We've moved decisively from Hamlet's contemplative delays and internal philosophical battles to a clear external conflict. Multiple parties are now actively plotting or seeking revenge, and the stage is perfectly set for the inevitable, bloody confrontation. The web of deceit and retribution is fully spun, tightening around everyone. The dramatic tension is almost unbearable.
Now that the stage is set with a poisoned plot and a resolute, though unwitting, Hamlet, what form will the final reckoning take, and who, if anyone, will survive the bloody unraveling of the Danish court?
Indeed. That's the question heading into Act 5.
Thank you for joining us on this literary journey. If you're nodding along, help other curious minds discover these conversations too. Press like and subscribe.